Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. I'm just gonna make a start as always. Not feeling brilliant today, so I might keep this pretty short to be honest. But yeah, just gonna be talking today about dog walkers. Things that they could be doing for you, and things that potentially they may be making it worse. But I'm going to start off by saying that I'm not here today to bag dog walkers. I've got so many good friends that are dog walkers and they do a great job. And that's really important that everybody knows that. I'm not here to bag them. And if you listen, you'll really understand that. And if any dog walkers are listening, there's going to be, some things that will be able to help you in here as well. In my position as a trainer, we go in and often the dog walkers there. Sometimes they are, and that's like as good as it gets. You get a dog walker that cares so much and wants to get it right that they want to join the session. And I'm sure there's some dog walkers out there do want to join the session, but they've got to earn a living as well. So it's not their fault all the time. But still, when the walker's involved with what we do, it makes it so much better, because when we're training a dog, we need consistency in the message and in the behavior that we're trying to train and the way we do it and the way we ask for it. So it's really important that whoever is in contact with your dog is delivering with the same consistency. And because if you're doing one thing and your dog walker's doing the opposite, then you're wasting your money on the trainer, because it really reduces the chance of seeing results. So yeah, there's a few things to go through there. I've got a few examples here of things that we come up against, like as a trainer, that we're going to then ask the client to do that would really, like, the dog walker's going to be really directly involved in this as well. If we've asked the client to do something and they've committed to doing it and they really want to see a change in the behavior, what we want people to do is we don't want dog walkers to automatically start every single dog walker to do this. That's not practical, it's not possible, and it's not reasonable. What we're saying is that if we've got a client that we're working with that is got a problem behavior that they're going to be working on, and then the dog walker's going to be involved, and to ask the dog walker if they can accommodate the needs and then go and help them with it and be consistent with it. If they can, brilliant. Like, you found yourself a brilliant dog walker, and you're going to stand a really good chance of success. If they can't, it doesn't mean they're a bad one, right? It means that it might not actually be in their skill set. It might not be part of their business model. It might not be something that they want to do or enjoy doing. But at that point, it's best to just part ways and find somebody that will, if you want the problem resolved. And that's better for everybody involved. It's better for you because you get the training results. It's better for the dog because it gets a consistent message, which means you're probably going to get less frustrated with it in the long run. It also means that the dog walker doesn't have a dog that is probably a bit of a shit for it. If it's not fitting its model, then it's not going to be a very good fit for them. And they're probably the dog that is causing all the problems. So finding a dog walker that understands the needs and understands your needs and is going to work with you is going to be really, really important. It doesn't mean that they're a bad dog walker. I was listening to Nando Brown talk about this the other day. You've got different types of dogs, and the two examples he used were you got like disco dogs and library dogs, and I loved it. Like, some dogs go to the park and disco dogs and they love it and they bounce around, they play and they have a great time. Library dogs aren't those dogs. But I think you've got the same kind of dog walkers as well. You've got disco walkers and library walkers. And if you put a disco dog in a library, he's going to fuck everything up. It's going to be a nightmare. If you put a library dog in a disco, he's going to have a bad time. And if you put a library dog in the care of a disco dog and he's got 15 other disco dogs around him, he's going to fucking hate it. And if you put a disco dog in the library where there's a bunch of librarians walking around, it's going to be a nightmare for the walker and for the other dogs, and probably frustrating for the disco dog as well because he's not getting his needs met. So finding the right walker is super important, and being a nice person isn't a good enough reason to keep the dog walkers. Like all the dog walkers, most of the dog walkers I've met are brilliant people, brilliant people, and they love the dogs and they love what they do. But remember that you're paying them. I know it's harsh, but like you are paying them, and so you are entitled to ask things of them, and they're doing something as a service. They're offering a service, and if the service doesn't meet your needs and your dog's needs, then that is the wrong service for you. Why would you be paying for that service? So I know that it's quite a personable thing. You then go into people's homes, you get to know them and everything, and it can be hard to part ways. But if it's not the right fit, I think we need to put our dog's needs first. It's like, think of it like a child. If it was the wrong daycare or whatever, the wrong place that we were sending them, and it really didn't meet their needs. You send your kid to sports camp, but he loves space and science. You're not going to pay for that, so don't. Both. There's nothing wrong with sports camp and there's nothing wrong with space camp. They're both brilliant. I'm a geek. I love all, but I'm not going to pay for the one that doesn't suit my kid. So here's a few examples of like what we see and what we have to work with a lot. Just simple things that you can ask your dog walker to do. If your dog is one of those dogs that jumps up at people and you don't want it to, again, not a problem if you don't care. Really not a problem. You don't call a dog trainer, so I wouldn't have seen you. But if you're somebody that dislikes your dog jumping up, encourage your dog walker to come in and teach it to sit and settle. Give it a station near the door so it knows where to do that. Be consistent with what we would teach you. When greeting people, rather than put an emphasis on what you don't want to see, put emphasis on what you do and teach it to sit and make that really reinforcing. And the classic one, dog walkers being really friendly. They walk in and the dog absolutely loves them. So they go fucking crazy and start barking and jumping around. And again, if it's not a problem, it's not a problem. But if you've got a problem with your dog jumping up, and every day a dog walker's coming in and making your dog jump up and then reinforcing that behaviour, then you've got to have a word with that dog walker and go, right, mate, can you get the dog to settle down? It's not doing it through discipline. We're not asking anybody to be disciplinarians and telling dogs off. I'm saying, like, bring food out, motivate the dog, make it love sitting so much. And it's going to be even happier to see the dog walker, because not only is it them who they love so much, but now they know what to do. And they get paid for doing it in love, affection, and food. So we're asking everybody to just jump on the same wagon there. And it's not just jumping up, it's like any sort of association of the front door. The front door is usually a super highly arousing place. So any sort of like over arousal, if it's a fear response, if you've got a dog that is generally fearful of people but loves your dog walker when they come in, still getting that dog walker to come in and be consistent and calm but still positive when they come in can help the dog learn that the front door is predictable. So it's got less chance of having a fear response around other people that come in other than the direct family and the walkers. So it helps you with guests. Making sure that your dog walker, if you've got a dog that you plays excessively. Now, if your dog walker really understands, if you have a conversation with your dog walker around, like with them, like, what does healthy play look like? So if we've been working with that together, we've probably sat down and talked about what does healthy play look like. And you can have that conversation with your dog walker, and you've got to listen back as well. They're going to have their own idea because they're the expert, right? So they're going to have their own idea. And it's like, he loves playing is not a good enough answer. You've got to ask them to articulate, like, what does the play look like? Because if he's loves playing, but his play style is he loves smashing other dogs into the ground and not letting them get up, he's being allowed to be a dickhead every day by that individual dog walker. So he's probably doing exactly what you don't want him to do. If your dog has got like a tendency to be obsessed with balls and stuff, getting a dog walker that actually allows your dog to sniff and doesn't take balls. And if they come across a ball, they take it off them really calmly. That dog walker that takes the balls out and whips them in every single direction is probably just causing more. I'm not going to bang on about balls in dog parks too much. There, I've banged on about it heaps, but they don't belong there. They spike the dog's arousal so high, and if the dog walker is there taking that dog out and supercharging it all the time, then you're probably going to be working with arousal issues. Like, that's probably why we got the phone call. Like, not that the dog walker created that, but the dog's genetics are being expressed, and the dog walker is allowing those genetics to be expressed through innocence and through their own business model, which is fine for the dog that doesn't have those genetics. But in so many circumstances, like, we see dogs that are hyper aroused, so somebody will get the dog walker to drain the energy to try to tire them out, and all they're doing is practicing hyper arousal in public. So they're never learning how to relax, and they're not actually given like a really constructive outlet for this. It's just fucking mental. Every time they leave the house, then it goes crazy, and so that's all they're learning. So getting a dog walker that understands about dog arousal, and like understanding that exhausting them isn't good, and that relaxing is just as healthy and important, and structured play is really, really healthy, and like healthy dog interactions, what they look like. Making sure that they're really on board with what your training goals are. Again, it goes back to that. You've got, where are we? Sorry. One of my pet peeves is when we see a dog that is antisocial, right? And the dog walker takes it out in groups of, and for the record, that's what I'm talking about a lot here, is like group dog walks off leash. The dog walker's got this dog that is antisocial, whether that is, he's really fearful and wary of dogs, or whether he's really, really overstimulated and can't relax around dogs, or whether he's aggressive and confrontational. Stop putting him in those situations where it's just mental and so full on that there's so many dogs around them. Like, the notion that the dog will get used to it is shit. You've got to make an effort to pair it with something positive and build positive associations, and make sure they're put in a scenario where they can actually practice what you want them to, not just, they'll get used to it, they'll grow out of it. Like, dogs get good at what they practice. The notion that they grow out of it, again, horseshit. Like, they get good at what they practice. So if your dog is consistently being fearful and like being put in that situation and wary of other dogs, he's going to probably potentially get overwhelmed more. So that has got to be done really carefully. Again, the right dog walker will do it carefully and will do it well, but you've got to have that conversation with them. Like, do you understand? I've asked them, do you understand what it looks like? What does my dog look like when he's nervous? What does he look like when he's scared? What does he look like when he's overstimulated? And what are you doing about it? Because the last thing we want people to do is that overstimulated dog, just snap it on the lead and have it just walking around the park while all the other dogs are running crazy and he's on lead just tearing away. Like, it's just going to get frustration. So we're going to get leash reactivity in no time. Or the dog that's really fearful, we just let him get on with it because the other dogs are really confident, so it just rubs off on him. Fuck off, that's not a thing. Like, that dog needs more help than that. Like, don't put him in a situation where he's so scared in the first place. So like, really having that conversation, like, the dog walkers that just throw the dog in the deep end and expect the pack to deal with it, that is them like just giving away responsibility altogether. That again is not good enough. They've got to take responsibility for the dog's actions. They're the ones that keep putting them in a situation, and they're the ones that they're accountable for the dog's behaviour. I had a dog walker years ago. This one doesn't like me. Fair enough. But like, she said, look, you've been working with this dog for 3 years, and every time I put him in this situation, I still see the same behaviour. You're a shit dog trainer. I'm like, you're the one keep putting him in the same fucking situation. We've managed that for 3 years. The owner doesn't see that problem because that situation will trigger that behaviour. It's like an alcoholic getting put beer in front of him. He's going to fucking drink it. Like, it's a behaviour that's triggered by a cue, and you keep giving him the cue. Of course he's going to do it. So asking the dog walker to actually take some responsibility. I've had another one in the past as well where the client called me after the dog was aggressive the week before, and he'd bit a child on a skateboard. So client being responsible, he's like, I need all the help I can get. He gets the dog walker in, and then 3 days later I come in, and the dog walker that I said, okay, this dog shouldn't be off lead, he's biting children. You can work with him, and here's your training plan. Have you got a dog walker? Yeah. All right, well, how about to ask your dog walker if they can keep him on the lead? Dog walker couldn't. That's not the service he offered. Now, that's not a problem, but what the problem was the dog walker got shitty at me for saying, just putting it in the client's head that he shouldn't use him. Like, frankly, the dog shouldn't have been let off lead. He's biting children, so don't put him in the dog. The dog walker can't blame me for the dog biting children. And but like, he was adamant that I was in the wrong because he was like, he'd been working with dogs for 15 years or whatever. Like, great, mate, but you're still letting a dog that bites kids off lead, and you refuse to keep them on the lead. Like, those are red flags from your dog walkers. Like I say, I've got some good friends out there that are dog walkers, and I've met some really negligent ones as well. I'd love to see dog walkers in general. Not that this is possible, but like reasonable, but like in general, like greet dogs with structure and calm, but be kind. Practice recall, practice healthy play, study the dog body language. Like, we live in an unregulated industry, and nobody's forcing me to study. Like, no, let alone a dog walker, let alone a dog groomer. Like, it's on you as an owner to put it on them and go, do you actually know about dogs, or do you just love dogs? Because loving dogs isn't a qualification. And put it back on them to actually know what they're looking at. What does it? Do you know the difference between hyperarousal and stress? Like, what does my dog look like when he's like that? We want to see people see them not reprimand dogs and really look after them. Like, if you see a dog reacting in a stressed out way, like aggression, which is often like stress, fear, or perception of control being removed from the dog. A dog needs help, not reprimanded, not consistently taken out and put in the same situation. Again, I had a dog walker years ago say, if you've got any dogs that need walking, send them my way. Even the aggressive ones, we'll put them in line. No, absolutely not. Not putting anybody in your care anymore after you said that. Like, that's not the way aggression and things should be handled. It's avoid things like, dog walkers that will say, the pack will help. Dogs aren't pack animals by definition. Pack is a group of animals that hunt, live and kill together. And if you're training your dog to go out and do that, you need a very different dog walker. But that's not how it works. So, and a basic rule. I don't know if the public are even aware of this, but there's a law. You are legally not allowed to have more than 4 dogs in your care. So, ask your dog walker to. How many dogs do you take out? Because as soon as he takes out more than 4, legally his insurance ain't void. Ask him if he's got insurance. Ask him how he transports the dogs. Ask him if he practices actually, securing the dogs safely. You have every right to ask your dog walker, and if they get shitty about the answer, if they can't give you a good one, go and find a new one. And if your dog's a disco dog, then don't give him to a librarian walker. And if your dog's a librarian dog, don't send him to the disco walker. It ain't rocket science. I'm going to leave it there for a minute. I'm going to put it out to the floor and just see if we've got any questions. I'm going to have a quick read of my notes. I've took some notes today because I'm not feeling brilliant, but the head's a bit foggy. But what do we got? Another one, good thing to dog walker that knows a trainer. There's a group of dog walkers around here that so good. I will name some good ones. You got Steph from Canine Convoy, Scotty from Little Paws Pack, Lee, can't remember a company name, but she works up in Vaucluse, Becky from Pawsome, Dom from the dog, again, not that Dom's a dog walker, Dom's one of the best trainers I've ever met, but her dog walking company is brilliant, you trust that. I'm struggling to think off the top of my head, but you've got some good dog walkers around here that if the dog isn't, this is a big one, if the dog isn't doing very well in their group, they don't blame you, they don't blame the dog, but they will be prepared to either work with the dog and bring it on so that it can enjoy the walks more and behave in a more socially appropriate manner, or be prepared to give it up. Being prepared to give your dog up is not them giving up on the dog. It is them acknowledging that what they're offering doesn't fit that dog and your needs. It's not offensive. It shouldn't be taken as offensive anyway. Dog walkers should be commended for that. They've gone beyond their own wallet. They've put their own needs to one side and gone, yeah, the dog needs more help than what I can give it. So they've been really good. And a lot of people think, they say, I've been fired by my dog walker. That's not the case. They've probably said, look, the dog is struggling in this environment, so I shouldn't keep taking it there. One thing I'd love to see is dog walkers actually charge what they're worth. They park illegally and they rush inside, and that in itself causes so much problem. That's because they're not paid enough. Like, they don't charge enough. They literally stretch their days out. They take too many dogs on. They park illegally. They rush in and out, and it causes madness in their own life and in the dogs. So if they just charged a bit more, and if you paid your dog walker more, you'd get a better dog walker, you'd get a better service, and the dog walker's life would be a lot better. It'd be so much easier for everybody if they were actually paid what they were worth. It's a stressful job. I used to do it. I hated it. It was far more stressful than being a dog trainer. Like walking around a park with dogs flying off in every single direction is hard work. It is. So many people have quit their little cushy office jobs thinking, I'm going to have a glorious life as a dog walker, and realise it is bedlam in there. Especially when you come across another dog walker, all of a sudden you've got 8 dogs and you're trying to figure out which one's yours and looking every single way. It's absolute madness. It's not a walk in the park. It is actually a really difficult job. We're not getting many questions today, so I'm actually just going to wrap it up. But you can always fire them off to me personally. I'm always so happy to answer them. You can either send it privately or chat. Put the comments in the chat when we post it. Keep your eyes peeled for next week, guys. We've got a couple of lives coming up next week. It's going to be really exciting, and both of them we've got guests on. And they're both logged in today, which is awesome. We've got Mel from Cooper and Kids on Monday to celebrate National Kids and Pets Day, and she's a specialist in that sort of area. That's her expertise, working with dogs and families. So tune in on Monday, 12:30 to listen to that, and then next Wednesday, a bit later in the day than usual, we're going to be talking to Nate, who tuned in last week, who I'm super... Yeah, Lake's just said you need a license to walk more than 4. You can't even get a license here, mate. It's just flat out illegal. We're chatting to Nate next week, and he works with sport dogs, but also works in Mondio Ring, but also works with one of the biggest UK charities, and with pet dogs. So this guy's super experienced, and next week we're going to give you guys... you guys get to meet him. He's a bit of a legend. I absolutely love listening to him, so it's going to be great. Now, Renee, going to answer your question here. I have a sniffer dog. She gets so distracted when walking by smelling things. Any tips? Any treats won't pull back her attention. Sorry for that question. Yeah, it's all good. Look, we've got a situation now where you're probably working under too much distraction. So if you put her in a situation where, in the home, for example, she's going to concentrate on the treat more so than following her nose, because she understands in that environment the biggest distraction is you with the treat. Outside, out and about, we've got a situation where she's gone out the door and bang, the nose goes down. So catch her. If you want the behaviour, an alternative behaviour, catch it early and work on less distraction than what she's currently unable to do the behaviour in. Sorry, my words are all over the place today. Less distraction than is going to make her fail, but more distraction than is easy. So it might be a case of practicing in the garden, but you need a strong learning history if you want, and be really clear. Like we get this a lot, even just the way you've worded it there. It's like, my dog sniffs, I don't want her to sniff. Like, I want you to think, what do I want her to do instead? And if you don't want to sniff, what's the opposite? It's concentrate on you. So we need a strong learning history of the desired behaviour, and you gradually and systematically build that up through different levels of distraction. So spending time with your dog training rather than walking will be super helpful for you. And at the same time, like if you've got a dog that's a sniffer dog, she's got genetic predisposition. She needs to sniff, is what I'm trying to say. I told you I'm not great today. She needs to sniff. So you need to give her a constructive outlet of that. And so it might be a case of while you're training, hold her attention for a short duration, and you've got the food rewards, but also after asking her to hold her attention, we've got a cue word to go, okay, go sniff, or free, or whatever word you want to attach to it. Say banana, as long as it's conditioned well. And that then she knows, I've worked, brilliant. I've had the food while working, that was great, but I also get to sniff at the end. You're going to make sure that the dog really, the needs associated. And that's the sort of thing that we'll be talking about next week with Nake. Those dogs that are really, really high drive, really high energy, really easily overstimulated, over aroused, all these buzzwords flying around. There's the sort of dogs that Nake works with all the time, and it's going to be talking about like how play is not an evil thing, like working with a dog under arousal. So we're going to be learning a lot next week from Nake around similar things. But essentially, it's about meeting the dog's genetic needs while giving them a constructive outlet and building it up systematically. So cool. All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Always a pleasure. I'm going to go and have a cup of tea and a bath because I reckon I'm coming down with something. So have a good day. I'll see you later.